Welcome to the match review of South Africa versus New Zealand of the 2026 World Cup. What a match that was! Oh my god. South Africa, in the words of Shukri Conrad, got a bloody walloping. And there's no better way to describe it. There were a lot of things that took place in the game, a lot of things to look back on from what we did in the analysis. So let's get right into it. So, what did New Zealand do? What did South Africa do so wrong that caused them to lose like this? First of all, let's look at the first innings. Uh, I think South Africa were behind from the get go. As early as the second over, they'd lost Ryan Rickelton and Quinton de Kock in consecutive balls. And that was great planning on New Zealand's end. And they just weren't able to get going in that power play. The lines bowled by New Zealand were all in the good length area. They were all in the areas that we talked about, which is middle and off, a good length, 4 to 6 meters. Don't give them room to play square of the wicket. That's exactly what New Zealand did, and South Africa weren't able to get off at all. Past that, I think it was very poor decision making. I mean, David Miller, there was a dropped catch of him. I think it was his second or third ball. He played an uppish shot towards extra cover, and that was dropped by Glenn Phillips. That was quite surprising that Glenn Phillips dropped a catch. But even after being given the second life, he's gone and he's tried to hit a ball outside off stump to long on, and he's gotten out. What was the need for the catch? And to add to that, the over had already gotten 14 runs. There was no reason for David Miller to be playing that shot on in any scenario, let alone the fact that the South African innings was only 10 overs in. Again, the shot selection and the way South African batters got out was very, very disappointing. I understand that Deval Brevis is still young, but the way he got out after getting a start was a nothing shot. Deval Brevis is a generational talent for South Africa. He's a match winner. He can take the game away from New Zealand, and for him to get out like that just after a wicket has already fallen was very disappointing to watch. I do think, however, that Aiden Markram's dismissal was a little bit unfair. It was a 50-50 call, and to me, it looked not out. But even given that, it didn't look at any point during the innings that South Africa were going to get a pass score. A pass score on this pitch or a winning score on this pitch is 190. And given that in the second innings the pitch has tended to flatten out a little bit, you need to get 195 to 200 to have a fighting chance in this game. And from as early as the second over, it did not look like South Africa were going to do that. The only couple of positives that South Africa may take out of this is probably Marco Jansen cementing himself as a better T20 batter, and Tristan Stubbs showing that he can sort of take the innings to a score. But even then, they got the team to 170. And the reason why they got to 170 also, I think, is because there were a lot of bad decisions made by New Zealand. It didn't look to me like New Zealand wanted to win that game. It looked like New Zealand wanted to prolong the innings a little bit so that they'd have a little bit more to bat on. Because Cole McConkey has bowled one over, the second over, and he's picked up 2 wickets already. He's picked up 2 for 9 off his first over. Why are you giving the ball to Jimmy Neesham? I understand that medium pacers have been getting wickets regularly on this pitch, but when Rachin Ravindra has picked up wickets, when Mitch Santner is bowling well, Cole McConkey will be in rhythm. He's picked up 2 wickets. He'll want to be part of the game. Why are you not giving him the ball? And the 3 overs that they did give Jimmy Neesham, he went for 42 runs. So I don't know why they keep backing Jimmy Neesham and keep giving him the ball, because every game he's getting smashed. And add to that the fact that after 3 wickets fell, after Brevis's wicket fell, and you saw that Jansen and Stubbs were on the crease, the ball was given to Jimmy Neesham. He's not your wicket-taking option. So New Zealand could have gone towards McConkey, who's already picked up wickets, and Jansen might look to swipe at him, or Stubbs might look to swipe at him at a bad ball, and you can get him out. You could have gotten to Lockie Ferguson, who's your main death bowler, who's a very aggressive bowler. You could have gone to Matt Henry, who's also an aggressive bowler, who's also bowling well that game. New Zealand still continued to Jimmy Neesham, and I think the only reason South Africa got to 170 or 169 was the fact that they kept bowling Jimmy Neesham despite countless options. I think they probably got 50 runs more than what New Zealand would have ideally wanted, because if you have a team 70 for 5 and South Africa batting Marco Jansen at 7 and Corbin Bosch at 8, Keshav Maharaj isn't that handy with the bat in T20 cricket, Rabada and Lungi Ngidi, you're probably backing yourself to get the next 5 wickets and 50 runs. And that might be a bit of a concern for New Zealand, because if you consider this, that they're playing the final and they're playing against England and India on a pretty flat track, both these teams have good batting until 9. England have a much better batting depth than India, because everybody in that English lineup bats. India bats till 9, so there's a match winner until Akshar Patel, who bats at 8. And if New Zealand give this kind of opportunity to an India or England, there's a chance that they take it to a pass score. It's just that South Africa weren't able to today because it was an overtly slow start. But I think one thing you will notice is a clear difference between the two sides is the first 8 overs. What are the lengths that line and length that New Zealand bowled versus what South Africa bowled? New Zealand, I was very, very impressed with their power play bowling. I think they didn't take many wrong calls in the power play. I think they were absolutely perfect with what they did. Matt Henry came in, he bowled tight lines. Then Cole McConkie came in, he bowled well. Yes, he went for 9 runs, but he still picked up those 2 wickets. And Lockie Ferguson was brilliant. He hit exactly the line and length we were talking about, and South Africa were barely able to get runs off him. And that kind of slowed the South African innings down. It slowed Aiden Markram down, and it built up this sort of pressure, because if you want to hit 190 and your score is somewhere near 42 or 43 for 3 after 6 overs, you'll want to come out and hit hard to get runs, which wasn't possible for South Africa. And obviously, I have to acknowledge that Tim Seifert and Finn Allen innings, and it was really a masterclass of how to break the bowling of an attack. So South Africa had a very little amount of momentum moving into the second innings, because they got quite a few runs in the last couple of overs. From basically the first over, Tim Seifert and Finn Allen took apart that bowling attack. By the end of the second over, they were already 19, and by the end of the third, they were 37. So if a team is 37 for no loss after 3 overs, South Africa's body language had completely slumped. It already looked like they felt they were out of the game, and they kind of looked out of sorts. It looked like they had already given up on winning this game. And add to that the fact that Finn Allen showed South Africa really how good this pitch was to bat on. I think that was also a bit to do with South Africa's game plan. I think they were too short. We talked about the right lengths to bowl, which is the 4 to 6 meter. They were towards the 6.5 to 7 meter, which is slightly short. Every time they bowled short, they got pulled by Finn Allen straight out of the park to mid wicket. It's the line and the length that they kept getting wrong. They kept getting hit, and instead of going to more defensive line or trying to bowl Yorkers or even bowling fuller deliveries so that they get the batsman to hit to the longer sides. They kept bowling those short balls. They kept bowling. They bowled to his pads. They bowled all over the place except the right lines. All the red zones, South Africa were bowling solely there. And also to some extent, it's because of the way Tim Seifert and Finn Allen disrupted that innings. They just smashed it. Every single ball was timed. Every edge was going in the gap. Every catch was falling close to no man's land. But that said, Finn Allen, what a knock. It's one of the greatest T20 international centuries ever because of the pace it's come at. The fastest between any two full member nations. And it really was special because apart from a top edge or two, he really looked like he was in his zone. It really looked like he was seeing the ball clearly and he was smashing it. There was no stopping him at no point after he got to maybe, I think, 20 runs. Did look like this man's going to get out. And I think a telltale sign of a player being in good form is the way he plays the scoop shot. His scoop shots were timed perfectly and exactly in the right areas. Even if you look at his more milder shots, the ones he played along the ground, he placed it exactly in the gap, and that's a very difficult thing to do if you're not in complete song. If you're not in complete form, complete song, it's a very difficult thing to do. And I think Finn Allen is a player who has been hyped for the past 4 years. I think he came in when he was 21 and he had a lot of difficulties. He's worked on his game clearly. He had a very good BBL, so I was hopeful to see him do well in the T20 World Cup. He's done well so far, but this knock is really a statement to say that Finn Allen has arrived to the international cricketing scene. That was the review. I hope you enjoyed. It's a slightly shorter video, but I just wanted to talk about the match. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.